Now, before we do this, let's go over the ground rules. Rule number 1.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which in my hand.
Don't concentrate on the finger or you will miss all that heavenly glory.
So, here we are. Welcome, boys.
Good
What's
evening.
up?
Nothing. This is, so after reflecting on the last couple podcasts that we've done.
What was the last couple?
Simulation
what was the
theory.
last-
Oh,
What was the
simulation.
last couple? The only two couple. We've only had two.
So the first one, simulation theory,
Yeah, first one, simulation theory. Second one is artificial intelligence.
AI.
Sounds interesting.
Yes.
Couple things that I noticed from the from the previous podcast as we are growing and evolving together, and that is, I think it's I may have overstepped a little bit with the language. So I am going to pull that back as to not have the only. I think we've settled in on one policy for the podcast, and the one policy of the podcast is not to embarrass our families.
Yes. Yes. And especially do not embarrass the wife.
Particularly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when
Yeah,
we talk about
well,
family, it's wife.
Right.
Well, I don't want to embarrass my kids. They're old enough to listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's harder to embarrass the kid, man. It's, because they go out and they play with they hang out. They hang out with their peers, and you can say pretty outlandish you can say outlandish stuff on a podcast, and they're like, "Oh, your parents are cool."
They pretty much embarrass themselves.
Yeah, they
anyway.
embarrass themselves.
Oh, good.
But the wife, you want the wife to be able to listen to the podcast in an environment where she's proud that you're her sugar daddy.
Right.
And
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I want,
not going, "Oh my gosh, did your husband just say that?"
right.
Now,
But it does give the ladies something to talk about. They sit around. They say, "Hey, did you listen to the last podcast? Did you hear what Jake said?" When it's you saying it, it's good for me and Josh. We come out looking shiny.
Yeah.
well, yeah, that's well, and I would say, because this is this is an attempt for all of us, I think, to be completely authentic and real and give people we're normal, just
Right.
individuals trying to, do a little podcast, have some fun, enjoy each other's company.
Yeah.
And if I thought, now my wife is amazing, but if I thought she could listen to this podcast with her friends and I said something like maybe what I started off last week's podcast saying in Spanish, and for her, if I thought she could look at her friend, if I thought, let's say her friend said, "Oh my gosh, did you hear what Jake said?" If I thought she could look at her friends and go, "Yeah, so," then I'd be like, "Yes."
Right.
Right.
Then it's on. Because I don't.
Yeah.
Whatever. I have my boundaries for language.
And you know what? What's interesting about this, because it ties in to our next subject, because your desire to please your wife, your motivation is, I'm guessing it's your motivation, I know it's my motivation, is from the Lord, because we're in the image of God. Mm-hmm. And as we talk about what being in the image of God is, we're going to see that it's not at all that we look like him.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are image bearers.
We
are image bearers.
Image bearers. Well, and that has the implications of that to me, man, are, there's something that said, when you're in psychology or when you're coaching somebody or wherever, there's different levels at which you can get somebody to change.
Right.
The base level at which you can get somebody to change is in the environment. So in your environment, if you said to your kid, "Hey, don't touch that hot stove," the way that you would train them in the environment is you just put up a gate so they can't touch the stove. But if you change somebody at the role of identity at the highest level, then they change for good. And I see that when we talk about the image of God, it seems like that is where I think we fall. I think we fall short as a church. I think we fall short as men, teaching people the image of God and the fact that they're image bearers. You said image bearers a minute ago.
Image bearers, yeah.
That's a good language.
Yes. Because we bear the image of God. We were created, and he breathed his spirit into us, the breath, of life, basically. And so he actually, in community with, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, saying, let us make man in our image. So then he made us as almost like a pottery. And so then he designs us on the outside. So we bear his image.
So in what way are we the image?
Well, we're like his reflection. We're his representatives. We're his hands and feet. We're the image of him. Like as we serve people, when like he tells us, if you give someone a glass of water in my name,
right? But how do you look like him, or how are we?
Well, see, that's what it's
how
not
specifically
okay.
are we
It's
made?
not about looks, right, Josh?
Well, it isn't about looks, but
Physical looks.
Yeah, nobody wants to look like me. Only me.
Right. If God
But-
looked like you, I don't know that I probably wouldn't be a Christian.
Wow. Anyways, on that note,
His salvation rests on whether
hey,
or
I'm gonna put my Oculus
Wait,
on
we're
your
created
head
in the
while you're
image of God.
asleep.
You're the image of God.
No, I hope not. But anyways, the image of God, what I've heard it taught is, and what I see is pretty right on, is mind, body, and soul. The same way God is three persons in one is the same way we have a mind, body, and soul. But since we are dead in sin, before the fall, it was mind, body, and spirit. But since we are dead in sin, now we are mind, body, and soul because the spirit has died. But that's the reason why we need God's spirit in us. And when we have God's spirit in us, then we bear his image just as he is 3 in 1. So we also are mind, body, and soul 3 in 1.
Well, and we're his image because we're his workmanship. We're what he uses to carry out his purpose. We go out and we preach for him. We teach people about him. We grow people in him. As we go out and we proclaim the gospel, as we share the good news, we're his image. We're the image to the world. We're the salt to the world of...
No, it's still going. It's just the monitor broke out.
Oh, okay, so we're the image of him to like I said, representative. We're representing who Jesus is to the world by our conduct, how we act, what we say, and what we do.
Right. And now, since we're on this subject, and we also want to go look back at our past couple of podcasts, talking about the simulation. So what is that kind of image?
I would say before we do that, when we think about the image of God and him saying, let's make man in our image, and in his image he created man. Check. There we go. So a little technical difficulties, no big deal. We'll edit that out.
Edit time.
We're probably not going to totally edit that out.
Everybody say whatever you want. We're going to edit this part.
Look, man, we all got full-time jobs and families. Ain't nobody editing nothing out.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to ride this train with us.
Yeah, learn to roll with it.
And speaking of the image of God, it's so God is intelligent. Like we talked about AI last week. Mm-hmm. God is intelligent. We are intelligent.
Amen.
God is creative. We are creative. Right? When we talk about the image of God, we're not just talking about us being his hands and feet and proclaiming the gospel and serving people, because even atheists are made in the image of God.
Well, everybody's made in the image
everybody's
and
made.
the likeness.
Right, everybody.
Image and the likeness.
Yeah. And so it's said that if all men are made in the image of God, all men and women reflect that image. And then it's in the creativity, it's in the knowledge, it's in the wisdom, it's in how we command and grow our environment. It's how we live in the world and how we work in our relative gardens, so to speak. Like God put Adam and Eve on the planet in his image and in his likeness, gave them a garden to grow, gave them work to do.
Right.
And in that work, they represent God and are a reflection of his glory and his righteousness and his and everything else.
Amen. Yeah, they were told to rule and subdue the earth, right? They had dominion over everything. We still we still do.
To be fruitful and multiply.
Yes, thank God.
More image bearers.
But now we're just in this fallen state, and we're not so great.
We're
Did you like that, right?
But we're still in his image.
We're still in his image. And now with him giving us his Holy Spirit as a helper, it's even more amazing what we can do.
Yeah, I mean, even look at all of mankind, all over the world, the variety, the sheer variety of humans that exist on this planet or that have ever existed on this planet. That expresses to me the vast glory of the Lord shining in everybody. And yeah, the image is marred for sure. We're not as creative as we could be, but there's certainly people that are far more creative than us.
Yeah.
Or we talked about Elon Musk and we talked about all these other people over the last couple weeks.
The guy in the chair.
Yeah, the guy in the chair, Stephen Hawking.
Well, that's what it's like.
He's got, but to be fair to like smart people,
Yeah.
like let's compare a brilliant genius that's got nothing to do but think, like Stephen Hawking.
Yeah.
And then take somebody who has a life, who's just as smart. I say if you compare the two, man, the guy with the life that's twice as smart, or the girl with the life that's twice as smart, is or just as smart as Stephen Hawking, is twice as talented.
Wait, are you bagging on this guy because he can't walk?
Because he could do two things at once.
Can't walk?
Think and work.
I don't know where you're going with this, Jake, but I am offended.
So thinking.
I'm just saying.
So thinking, obviously, you have intelligence.
You just took a man who's handicapped.
Plus your hands and your feet, right? Or if you're just like I said, Professor X,
Dude.
he had a mind, but he can destroy worlds and other galaxies, bro.
Right.
Just imagine that. Like when I trying to think of your question is the guy or girl that has intelligence plus a drive to work or to do stuff or to do anything.
The guy couldn't help it.
Jared, he's still
hung up on this idea that I just trashed a guy in a wheelchair.
So being more useful, I guess, in a sense.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not even a guy on a chair, okay? Yes.
I'm just saying, look, it's nothing.
Jared.
Just so we can lay him back in bed.
Yeah.
Nothing against Stephen Hawking. He's obviously, clearly a brilliant man.
Yes, and he accomplished a lot.
And he accomplished a lot. I'm just simply comparing him to somebody who had full faculties of all aspects of life, who's just as intelligent and to scale is probably 10 times
what
more.
I'm trying to say
is,
listen to this.
Okay.
The guy who is a brain, who is very smart, and did accomplish all these things. What did he mostly do? He wrote books.
Well,
and he
that's
taught,
what
right?
I want to know. I want to
Correct?
know what did he accomplish?
But listen about this: the guy who created Atari,
a video game, right?
a video game. Yes, he had a mind.
You lost me.
Right? He had a mind, but then
listen.
he did something with his mind and he created something.
I'm not sure what's more offensive. Me comparing like Elon Musk being 10 times smarter than a guy in a chair, or are you comparing Stephen Hawking to the guy who invented Atari?
I mean, come on. I'd rather play Atari than listen to a guy talk all day.
Oh my gosh. So, man,
It doesn't take long to get this bus off the rails, man. This is
man.
Jared, you guys are being mean to me.
Oh, sorry.
I'm gonna run away and
Come
hide
here.
in my hole.
Come over here.
can't run away
It's
with
hug
stuff.
time. We're gonna edit this out too. Come here and give me a hug.
No, we're gonna video that one.
Oh yeah, camera's pending. You don't want to see. Yeah, that's gonna be the hard. That's gonna be the blessing and curse for the people who are downloading this podcast. Is at some point they're gonna be able to subscribe to the YouTube channel and see these ugly mugs in 4K.
Man, I'm gonna try to bring this back around.
It's a big boat.
Us being in God's image, right? Created in God's image as and likeness to go to work to be, His workmanship, and to fulfill His ministry, right? Now you have with these other theories that we talked about last week, man creating, i.e., in His image.
AI?
AI?
Yeah, and that's what I meant. AI.
Internet, it's when men are creating like Internet Explorer.
Oh,
in
man.
in
The
their
best
image.
browser.
And so if we're in a fallen state, but as Christians proclaiming we are now filled with the Holy Spirit as a helper, but now you have someone that says, no, I don't believe in God, and I'm going to create artificial intelligence. I can't abbreviate it. It's too hard for me. In my image, a fallen image, that's when things get a little scary, right?
Yes, exactly. The same thing with the simulation theory, how a man who is sinful without God's spirit inside of him, who is dead, right? Because we are all born dead to sin. But when, like I said before, the Holy Spirit makes us alive again, that when someone who has that type of mind and creating a simulation according to his own thoughts and his own knowledge and his own sinful nature, what is that going to happen to that simulation?
Right.
Right.
It's exactly
The same thing with the
Same.
AI, who's going to be creating a robot or a supercomputer.
Yeah.
It's still made in the image of man.
Yeah. Well, that's the irony that we've talked about, is that, we were created in the image of God and in His likeness to be like God. And we're going to make robots in our image to be like us. Mm-hmm. And the only difference is that when they turn on us, there's nothing we're going to be able to do about it. And when we turn on God, I was thinking about this today, because this is, what the word meekness means?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not weakness.
It's not
It means
weakness.
strength under control.
Just because it rhymes doesn't make it the same thing, right? Strength under control. That's when you have like an almighty, all-powerful God that can create a human being in His image and in His likeness, give him volition and choice, and not worry about the consequences. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't affect God. That's meekness. Like, I can smoke you fools whenever I want. Like, it's over as soon as He decides it's over, right?
Yeah.
But He doesn't need to. He's like, all right, let's see how this plays out. And He knows how it's going to play out. But He says, let's see how this plays out. And that's what's different about the AI and the creation of God, is that a creation of us in His image, is that the robots are going to kill us, and we can't do anything to God.
But some
But
of
He
us
still
would.
loves us.
Some
which
of
is
us would
crazy.
kill God if we could have.
Well, and plenty of people have attempted to.
Right. They
it's-
can just not. Hey, I'm not going to believe in you.
Oh yeah, I
That's
killed you in my mind. I just don't believe.
Well, not only that, it's like this. Jesus says if you hate someone, then you've already committed murder in your heart. So when you hate God,
Yeah.
you're murdering God out of your heart.
I never thought about that.
Yeah,
And
but
the
can you
Bible
martyr-
even says that you have to trample over the bloody corpse of Christ
Yeah.
to actually cross that line of fully rejecting Him.
Right. But
So
can
that's
you-
basically murdering
You're not
Him.
really murdering God, though.
Well, in your heart, he's
Not-
saying. He's
not-
saying in your heart, not
in
physically.
your heart.
Yeah.
Not physically.
Yeah, I suppose He's dead to you.
And even mentally, you can
Yeah.
just cancel God out. But at the same time, it's almost an irony, because anybody who even has a thought about God, you can actually count them as a theologian just because they're thinking about Him.
Yeah. The study
Yeah.
of. Don't you think it's fascinating, though, they put this habitat together, and then like the cherry on top of that sundae was that He decided to make us in His image.
Well, I think it's awesome, because I think as we live our life and we do things and we make choices and decisions and have families, we get a picture of who God is. Not a perfect one, but like as we have children, we love them. We see His love, but His love towards us is way more incomprehensible. How do you say that, guys? Tell me.
incomprehensible.
Yes, thank you.
Incomprehensible. INCO.
It's uncomparable, but it's a view of like, oh, whoa, this is how much he loves us. How we want to bless our children. Oh, wow, this is how he wants to take care of us. How we want, even though our kids are bad, we still want to give them good things, but we know that they need the discipline for growth and whatnot. And we just see the chastisement of the Lord, the same thing. And just, I mean, I learn things about God as, you know, not I don't as I do things I learn about God. No, I just think it's cool because you see the heart. Like God gave us a sense of humor, right? Probably because he has.
Well, because he has one.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? You see, he's got feeling. Like, I mean,
look at
See,
a
now we're
sloth.
touching on the more specific that I like.
Look at a sloth.
a sloth. A sloth is eagle food, man.
That thing.
There's no
but
other
have you
purpose
seen
for
one
a
of those
sloth.
things?
Yeah.
That thing. That's how I know God has a sense of humor. If you look at one of those things, dude, those things are freaked out. They look all spun out, but then they're the slowest things in
They're
the whole.
super slow, and that's how you know that God loves eagles more than he loves sloths.
Yeah,
Because
and that's
he
how
just-
much we know that God loves us more than he loves.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, now just imagine with that, you know, the pinnacle of creation was what? Making man
Making man.
in God's, in their, you know, in his image and his likeness. Now, what's the second pinnacle? Marriage. God brought
Marriage.
Eve to Adam, almost like a picture of how God brought the church into Christ.
Well, yeah, and it says in Genesis that he made man in his image, male and female. He
Right.
made them.
Right.
right.
And then when you put two together in marriage,
So God is non-binary.
right?
Right. And you know that he doesn't like drama, right? He's not a God that's trying to stir up drama. Like how we like drama, he's not. I think that's where we get carried away because if God liked drama, he would have created two women and said, okay, Adam, you choose. And then had the women, you know, fight for Adam. And he didn't do that. He was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like, hey, we're making a reality show. I want to watch something entertaining. These two girls are going to fight. He's going to try to have to choose. Let's see what happens next week.
Oh, man.
What do you make of this idea in Genesis 5 where it says Adam had what's it say?
Why don't you look that up for a second?
I'm going to look it up.
Yeah, look that up.
Right.
On that note,
But you know what? It's also amazing. Tell us, Josh, what's also amazing.
it's amazing because God knew that one man could only handle one woman.
Here's a,
Right? I mean, I don't know. That's amazing that it's just one man,
it's
one woman.
One man, one woman. Well, there's plenty of men in the book that got themselves some strange.
Oh, yeah, David.
Right. I mean, look
Yeah.
at
got himself
Abraham,
in
right?
trouble.
Yeah, he was a
And
pervert.
Abraham
For sure.
listened to his wife the first time that when she said take the bondwoman,
I mean,
right? And then
it's
what
like-
happens? And then what happens after? No, you need to get rid of her. She's causing trouble in our family. Like, come on, dude. Like, listen to your wife.
After our previous conversations about how I manage my mind, you guys just tee this stuff up for me. I can't help it. You think that was a hard sell? That wasn't a hard sell.
It wasn't. You
No.
know it couldn't have been
Yeah, dude's like,
an Egyptian woman, right?
she's just like, come on, babe. I can't have kids. I think you're gonna have to take her into your bed and make a baby with her. And he's like, no, babe, but I love you. And she's like, no, but you have to. Okay.
It doesn't say anything like that.
I don't even think there was an argument.
There was no argument.
You probably, you
I mean,
know.
I mean, honestly, the Bible doesn't speak of him saying no to her, or even try to like an argument type of thing. Like,
You know, I know
But-
my,
but-
Wasn't there? I thought there was a.
my wife would
Afterwards.
she would. We're not having kids.
No, that's what my wife would say too. She's like, look, I'm barren. Tough luck.
Yeah,
afterwards,
tough
there
luck.
was.
You should
because
go out there and make a ton of
they
money.
became like a wedge between.
After doesn't count.
Right, it
You're like the
doesn't.
damage. Look, you cheated on me. You told me to.
Right.
And I'm not trying to be.
You didn't
like-
have to listen.
I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but that's the beauty of it. One man
That's
and
the
one
beauty of
woman, and there will be no problems.
Yeah. And you become a more complete image.
Yes,
Together.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Here's the same language used in Genesis 5. It says, when Adam had lived 130 years, he fathered a son in his own likeness after his image and named him Seth. Shout out to Seth.
Oh.
Oh. I know a few people named Seth.
For all your life insurance needs, if you need financial planning, call Seth.
Call Seth.
That's for you, buddy.
Well, I
So
think
is that the whole reason you read that?
Yeah, well, because mostly I wanted to ask, like, look how interesting that is that he had a kid, not how old he was, but look, he had a kid after his own likeness, after his own image. That simply means he had a kid that looked like him and acted like him.
yeah.
Right. Same
And so-
attributes.
So same language.
Have you seen
Yeah.
my son?
as in Genesis 1?
Have you seen my son, Josh?
Yeah, definitely.
He just looks like a
Yeah.
white me.
Yeah, he does. He
Exactly like me. Same hair, same face. If you look at a picture of me when I was in kindergarten and look at a picture of him, identical.
Yeah. Now take it back to Genesis 1 when he says that he made man in his image,
Yeah.
in his likeness.
Yes.
Now, so you think about your kid and you're like, in how many ways is he like you?
Man, a bunch. He's a
Yeah.
a brat. He's stubborn. Right?
Right,
He has
good
an
and
anger
bad.
problem.
Good
Yeah.
and bad.
Like, I mean,
Is there anything
those
good?
are all
Is there anything
kids,
good
right?
you can say
I'm not,
about it?
I'm not just calling out my son.
He
I
can't
know there's
think
a
of
lot
anything.
of kids out there that have these types of problems.
Is there any
But-
good? Can you say a good thing? At least 5, please.
Yeah, he's a very sweet kid.
Uh-huh.
He likes
He likes chocolate. Okay.
oh, Jared.
I'm just kidding.
I'm gonna give you a big kiss on the forehead.
Big
so
chocolate kiss.
yeah, he's a sweet kid. He's very smart. He loves to go to school.
Is that a good attribute? Yeah, it
That's
is.
a good.
It is.
It's an attribute,
It's an attribute.
whether it's good or bad or kind or sweet or negative or whatever. I mean, it's an attribute. It's like you look at your kid, you go, oh my gosh, that is like I look at Abby, and I'm like, yeah, like even the good stuff. You know, we don't point out the good stuff about the kids because when we're talking about this particular subject as them being made in our image and in our likeness, in giving them compliments, we're really giving ourselves compliments. So I will say my kid is darn good looking.
Oh my goodness.
She's a beautiful young lady, as am I.
Beautiful young lady.
She's super artistic and smart, right? Where she got that from.
Dude, our kid just got a letter in the mail. He just got invited to be part of the honor society, and me and
Quit it.
Becky,
The National Honor
me and Becky were
Society.
like, neither of us were even like. I mean, I wasn't even close to trying for that, but you know, it's like he is even smarter.
It's not the junior
than us.
high
He's-
honor society.
No, it's the high school.
His high school. Yeah,
oh
he's in high
my
school.
gosh!
Now,
you don't
dude-
know what they do in the honor society in high school?
I don't, because I was never part of that.
It's a
cult.
rare ceremony. It's not good.
Oh, I don't.
There's
think
something
so.
about goats' heads and
Yeah,
weird.
we're definitely making him do it for the experience.
Well, you know, the things that I was explaining about my son are the things that I remember my mom talking about me
Yeah.
when I was a kid. But, you know, after a while, I started, you know, growing older. I hated school and all these other things. But if you look at my daughter, she also got into the National Honor Society.
Oh,
she
shout
was
out.
She was the one who had to, you know, cut off the head of the sheep.
Oh, she already did it.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, she's in. She's
and
fully
with the
vested.
robes and, you know, all this other stuff. But, no, it was a good ceremony.
Reaching out to our Wiccan friends out there. What are
But-
those Wiccan friends?
What I'm trying to say is that she loves school. She says that she doesn't like it, but she is so good at it.
It's cooler to say you don't like school,
And when
but you can tell.
if I look back, you know, stay tuned for maybe later episodes to get to know who I was. I would have rather stood in school and accomplished something and finished high school.
Oh,
Like,
now looking
now
back.
looking back,
hindsight.
I would have
Oh,
rather
yeah.
did that than ended up where I did.
where you are now.
No, I'm. It's better than where I was, but
Yeah.
yeah, I would have rather did something with my life.
Yeah.
And
Boy, look, you and me both.
Just looking back at her,
This is all a sad podcast.
Yeah.
I know.
hey guys, I'm happy where I'm at.
2/3 of this trio really hate their lives.
Yeah.
And we don't.
But this is a good thing, and
life
this
is
is
good.
also the awesome thing about being created in God's image, because we have the ability to grow. Well, not that God needs to grow and to learn, but this is what He's put in, what He's imputed to us is that ability to grow and to learn and become more and more like Him.
well, Jesus
so-
did.
Right.
It said he grew in stature and
That's true.
Daily in the wisdom of men and of God.
Yeah.
Did he have to?
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
he was Jesus.
Yeah.
He was God.
So God coming
Yeah.
down in the form of flesh, becoming a man. Yeah, he grew and he learned and and we're able to do that same thing, which is cool because we can never say, "Oh, I'm stuck in this sin," because God gives us the ability to grow. Only a lazy person would say, "Oh, this is how God made me. I can't go any further."
A sloth.
Yeah. A sloth.
A straight up sloth.
Eagle food.
Yeah.
And it's like, no,
Straight up eagle
we're
food.
creating God's image. I tell my kids this all the time when they try to tell me, "Oh, I can't do that. I guess that's just the way God made me." No. God made you with the ability to grow and to learn.
Yeah. Well, and that's what's what's interesting to me in this conversation is that we can talk about our kids and we can see ourselves in our children, the good and the bad, and yet
And the beautiful.
and yet when we talk about being made in the image of God, all those characteristics seem like we're skating over super vague.
Yeah. Well, let's hear some of those characteristics.
Characteristics.
Yeah.
Well, like I said earlier, like creativity,
Right.
like our ability to manage.
right. Our desire to build things. Our desire to create.
our desire to create, design things, and fabricate things, and figure out how things fit together.
Well, and the cool thing even about that is when you see and you design things yourself and you build things yourself, and then you think about how God did it, it really shows you how small you are compared to God. Like,
Yeah.
you know, we look at something and we go, okay, I'm going to plan this based on experience. This is how I'm going to build this time, you know, off my knowledge of doing this in the past, where God was like, oh, I'm going to do this, bam, once, right the first time. You know what I mean? Like, I know
Yeah.
how it's going to turn out, the good, bad, and the ugly, but this is how I'm going to make it. This is how I'm going to redeem it. What are you going to say? You guys
Well,
look
I
like...
just have a thought. I mean, just think of it. Jesus is the very image of God. The very image of God. We know that to be true. Yeah. And just think of it. God created the heavens and the earth. And when he came down to earth, born of a virgin, and was born, right? He was born also of a carpenter.
Right,
His
yeah.
father-in-law
he learned
was a
carpentry.
carpenter.
Right.
Who creates things, and then he eventually became
Dude, that's not
someone
yeah.
who built stuff.
Dude, that's not even fair, really, right? Like you're the image
Right.
of the invisible God. You've created, and by the way, the creator of all things.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Through him, all things were created,
Yeah.
and without him, nothing was made that was made.
Exactly.
Right, John 1.
1.
Right.
Yeah.
And
John
so
1.
you have the creator of the universe walking among you, making furniture.
Right.
Dude, I want that chair.
I want to.
That's the best chair.
I would definitely have faith in that
Dude,
chair.
no back support. I mean, you don't need.
Right.
That's ergonomic.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
I think we actually have
carpal
one here
tunnel.
today that we're going to auction off at the end of the show.
There's no carpal. There's no bad backs. I would put any of Jesus's chairs. I would put in my Dodge right now and put miles on it, and I know I wouldn't be afraid.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Totally.
saying?
Yeah.
He says in Colossians 1:15, he says, "He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation." And then in chapter 3, he says, "And have put on," and he's talking about us, "and have put on the new self, which is being renewed in knowledge after the image of its creator."
Amen.
That's us.
Yeah. Totally.
So this is the interesting. There's so much you can go into the image, but we're made in this image of God, and then we divert from. We don't divert from it. There was something that happened in the garden. There was something. Do you guys know what the first line in the Bible is?
In the beginning.
It's in the beginning. No. If you asked like an everyday general Christian person, what is the first lie ever told in the Bible?
Oh, first lie. I think you
the
said
first
lie.
first
You
lie.
said lying
I thought you
too.
said
Oh,
lie.
don't answer it now because you're not an everyday general Christian, and I don't want you to give me that answer because I don't want you to. Don't do it.
That was horrible. If you said, what's the first lie? And I said, in the beginning, that's horrible, Jake. You should have punched me in the face.
The cameras aren't on yet. That'll be better on television.
I know, but they'd hear, oh my God.
But
Pow!
I'd
Bam!
announce-
All right.
I'd be the
so
announcer.
rewind now. So then the first lie.
Oh, the first lie. Am I not his keeper?
Ask Ken Ham. Right. So if you ask Ken Ham, hey, what's the first lie in the Bible? Ken Ham, in his very Australian accent, will say, the first lie in the Bible.
The first lie in the Bible.
In the Bible.
In the Bible.
Is to say that, hey, mate, you're gonna be like God.
Oh,
Was that
Satan with the Eve.
But that's
Yes.
not the
That's
first.
not the
but
first
that's not the first
lie.
lie. That was a truth.
Oh,
The first
okay.
lie is, didn't she add?
No, I mean,
Well,
are you really
he
gonna be mad
added,
at Eve for
well, he-
adding that? That's a good ad.
But to not touch it?
Yeah, that's a good ad, dude. If God says, hey, you can have everything in this, I planted everything here for you.
Yeah,
This is
dominion,
yours.
baby. Rule it.
You can have everything.
Dominion.
It's a blessing.
Dominion.
I made it. Thank you. It's all for you. Don't eat
Dominion.
that tree. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
If that's the only
Don't
thing he
eat that
says, don't
tree.
eat that tree.
See, that's a lie too.
And then you took it and you said, I'm not even supposed to look at that tree. That's not a bad ad.
Right.
I'll
Maybe
add that.
Or even touch it?
giving
or even
yourself
touch it, dude.
giving yourself some boundaries to stay safe.
Dude, if I told my daughter, hey, don't do meth.
She's not even gonna
Right.
look at meth.
And then she says, oh yeah, to her friends, I can't do meth. And my dad says not even to look at it. That's not a bad addition.
Yeah,
I would take that
I'd be
addition
pleased with
every
that.
time. I would take that ad. It's that the serpent, the talking animal in the garden, told Eve, manimal, dragon, whatever it was,
Mm-hmm.
Serpent of old.
called God's
Deceiver.
character into question. He's hiding something from you.
Ah.
Yeah, you're made in his image, but you're not totally like him. He has something you don't have.
Right. You could be like
You
God.
could be more, and he doesn't want you to have it.
Right. That was a lie.
Well, they called God's character into question, but it wasn't a lie, because as soon as they ate the fruit,
Well,
what
the-
happened? Their
I
eyes
guess
were opened.
The lie was that they're not better off. He
Well, he didn't say-
deceived them into thinking they'd be better off.
He didn't say they were going to be better
He
off.
deceived them into thinking they would be.
Where? No, he doesn't.
Why would they do it unless he
He-
deceived them into thinking that
Well,
they would be better off?
It's like it's written there. It says that the fruit was good to look at.
Right,
which
pleasant
it
to
was
the
pretty.
touch.
It's pleasant to the touch. It was good for making one wise. Had power to unlock your eyes or unlock your mind,
Good
whatever
for
it had.
making one wise,
It
power
was
to
like,
unlock the wise.
what do you?
I'm just making raps while you talk. Keep going. Sorry.
It's gonna sound like we're talking over each other. He's like, what Jared say? He's,
That was a rap
am I
song,
being
don't
heckled?
worry.
I think I'm being heckled right now.
It's all right.
That's
That's
what-
why he's called he deceived her.
He deceived. Well, yeah, he did.
We know he was deceived.
He deceived
She
her.
was deceived,
Yeah.
right? She was deceived into thinking it was better for her to take.
Yeah, that's right.
But it wasn't.
It wasn't. Why?
Right.
Because they can't handle that. They can't handle being like God in
Can
that
you
way.
you think you can handle the truth?
You
can't
can't
handle the truth.
Well, you
You guys are
can't.
nuts.
There's a limitation built into the image made, and that is, I think we can't handle that knowledge of what is good and evil. I mean, what happened to them? Their eyes were opened. God immediately acknowledges they've become like one of us, knowing good and evil.
Yeah,
So he affirms that was actually true,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So
right.
now we're more in his in the fact that we're made in his image and in his likeness, and now we've come into contact with, or we've been opened up to now discerning what is good and what is evil. Mm-hmm. And that's a problem.
Right.
Because we don't know how to handle
Well,
it.
see, that's
And that
what,
corrupts the image of God.
That corrupts.
Us
well,
as image bearers of God.
that's
I'd say.
why.
But not right away.
Well, that's what I'm thinking is when he says image, it's not. It's more as workmanship. Like, hey, we're the image, we're the reflection of what he wants to do. We're the reflection of who he is and how we go about our days and
Yeah.
how we serve is an image of God, a reflection of him.
Right.
We're a representative. So that's why.
But it goes
Like-
beyond that too.
It does go way beyond that.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm going to say it stays right there.
Because Jared, what about the non-believers that are made in the image of God?
Right, and so what would they, as they go about their days and they're doing work and carrying out business, they're not doing it to the glory of God,
Right.
Right, But the attributes and their abilities that they're able to do it, that they're even able to breathe, that they're able to wake up every morning, right, and move and go, that's because they were created in the image of God. They were created with a purpose and a calling, right? They were created with a purpose and a calling. They're not fulfilling it. They don't care about it, but they're in it. They still have it. Right. So would they be considered Antichrist? Because if you're not carrying out the work of God in the image of God.
Well, you don't have to carry out the specific work of God to be identified as being somebody made in his image.
Mm-hmm. Because
You're in his image.
Adam and Eve were, right? They said, they're created in my image and my likeness, right?
Yeah.
Right? Because they were carrying out his purpose. What was his purpose for them? Hey, make
but that's
children.
But that's not the only reason.
Build families.
Yeah.
Build families. Take care of this garden. You have dominion over everything. You have rule over everything.
That's part of the image. Rule
Right.
is part of the image. Reproduction is part of the image. I mean, it's like all these things
Right,
are part
all-
of the
right.
creativity, the management, the dominion, all these things are part of the image.
And what are people they're still working, doing business. Look at what's going on. The world is still producing, going on, families being made. We're still carrying on, and everybody, whether they're Christian or not, they know they have dominion over every. If there's an animal in your house and you don't want it in your house, you say, "Oh, I have dominion over here. I'm going to call Jake," and you're out. Right? Not an animal, but a bug. But, any bug, animal, we have dominion over it and what we want in our house. No, you don't belong in my house, ant. I'm going to kill you.
Right.
We can kill any insect,
Oh, your termite
any
pest
animal.
control needs-
Hey, you got a rat in your house? What are you going to do? You're going to let it out? No, you have dominion over it. You're going to kill it.
Smack it with a stick.
Right? And anybody, Christian or not Christian, is going to practice that if they want to because they have dominion.
Well, the rat
And
had a
rule
purpose
over it.
too.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know what it was.
But you have dominion over it because
What was the purpose of a rat?
I don't know. Purpose of the rat was to make Egyptians miserable, I guess.
it probably came in after the fall.
Well, I don't know. Well, that's the thing, is we don't know what came in after the fall and what didn't.
Right.
Right? It's like we talk about, life was perfect and life was this and life was that before sin came in, but we don't really know how it was. I mean, it was good. We know it was good.
It was perfect.
Well, we know it was good. We don't. Perfect is like perfect. Perfect.
It must
to,
have been.
Perfect to that day's standards.
We
which
know it was very good.
It was very good.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but not perfect.
Yeah.
They- You don't
Because it
think it
was
was
man's
perfect?
job to make it more perfect.
Right. God
To take care of it.
man has
And make it better.
that it's not perfection.
Not make it better, but
It was make it-
maintain.
No, not maintain.
Maintain,
God's
bro.
not a maintaining kind of God.
What
Look
are you
at
talking
us.
about? Look at us. Maintain the garden, bro.
Dude,
Maintain.
That's what he said. Hey,
Right.
hey, bro, maintain the garden.
if the job was only to
In our
maintain,
vernacular.
if the job was only to maintain, we wouldn't be surfing the internet today. We'd have one big ass garden.
What?
Yeah, we'd
Or a
all be
big
planting
brain.
corn and making moonshine, and that's
We are doing that.
no. But we're doing a bunch of other things too,
Right.
based on the dominion that He's given us.
Right.
Right? God didn't give us the internet.
But we
He
also,
made us in His image, and we pursued that.
We get to go further. We get to create,
yeah.
and at the same time, we maintain.
All right. What are we talking about?
Like if everything was perfect.
I'm lost. No, but I think the whole thing was you were going along with the lines of creativity, rule. Like you were talking about the very image of God.
It's yeah.
You're talking about the creativity part of it.
We're the exact. I think Adam and Eve were the exact representation of God's nature. Right? That's who we were supposed to be.
Well,
We were supposed to be good. We were supposed to
Right.
We were supposed to have mature, very good dominion over it without any knowledge. Imagine this, man. No knowledge of good, no concept of what good and evil is.
right.
Right?
Okay.
Just manage, dominate, grow it, multiply, do your thing. It's yours to do. I gave it to you. You make it better.
Well, it's because there was a knowledge that hey, this one thing is wrong. So they knew this would be wrong to eat this.
Well, at some point they were going to run into something. They were going to run into mosquito. I mean, it's not like life was going to be just great.
Yeah.
No.
Life was great.
They still have
We're
to
gonna
work.
have to look up that word "good" and see what it means.
Well, look it up.
Does
We
it
got-
mean
Or-
perfect?
You got a
Just imagine-
smartphone in your pocket.
What
the
does
word,
it mean?
The word forbidden.
Does it mean fine? It was
Forbidden.
it was fine.
That's the only
Life
thing.
was good. It
But
means
they did-
fine in Greek.
But they didn't know why it was forbidden. They just said, "Don't eat it." Well, why
Right.
not?
Why
Right?
not?
So why not? Well, she didn't even say why not. It's
they knew why.
It's a dragon that came and said, or the lizard that came, or whatever it was, and said, hey. Psst.
So they had some sort of doubt built into them because he made her doubt. He made them doubt.
He called God's character into question.
Right.
Said your creator
Uh-huh.
is hiding something from you.
Yeah. So then they
And
doubted.
that something is found in this piece of fruit that he doesn't want you to eat because he knows as soon as you eat it, you'll be like him.
You'll be like him.
And she thought, well, it is pretty, and it is good for making one wise.
Uh-huh.
Let's go for it.
Let's go for it.
And there's the downfall of
There's
the
and then,
image bearer.
And then Adam comes along and goes, what are you doing, babe? She says, I just took a bite of this. It's pretty fascinating.
Here
you go.
Yeah.
You know you're not supposed to eat it,
And
but
Adam, whom was not deceived,
Right, he
sinned
knew.
willfully,
Yeah.
was
Yes.
just like, I guess that's the road we're going down. Let me
because
get
he
you-
knew it
Let's
was
do it.
wrong.
Let
So
me-
he already had a knowledge
Now-
that, hey, this is wrong, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Nobody can hear you with the mic.
Everybody can hear me. You're wrong,
So-
like
Yeah.
Adam.
You're wrong.
So
like
think of
Adam.
it. I do like what Jared said, though.
Uh-huh.
See, like
Thank you, somebody.
in the beginning, we were supposed to have that type of image, as Jared explained before. The image of being God's hands and feet, of
Sure,
his
right.
creativity,
Yeah.
of all these other things. But because of that fall, that image was tainted.
Mm-hmm.
So now when Jesus came back as the second Adam, right,
Right.
and conquered life, giving us life in abundance, gave us his spirit, it reawakens that image of creativity.
Yeah.
Whoever accepts Jesus in their heart,
Right.
that has the Spirit of God. The Spirit of God is what gives us that type of image to be just like Jesus did.
Yes.
To do.
That is, by far, dude, that is the simplicity of the entire Bible.
Right.
Hey guys, so an update on the word "good" in
He's
when you
still
look
on-
up the Strong's definition, and I just want to let you guys know
Who's-
that the word "perfect" is not in there.
No, it's
So yeah, most pleasant, precious,
just okay.
prosperity, sweet.
It's all right.
It's all right.
Good is there.
It's like
Favorable, bountiful.
it's like a mid-road
cheerful.
Mexican food.
Jared, I
Ease.
just
It's okay.
agreed with you, so
You
just
should
go
have.
along with that.
Hey, I just wanted to make sure.
I know.
You should
You know,
bask
because I
in it.
really thought that
No,
you
good.
know.
Perfect is perfect.
Perfect
Good
is perfect.
Is just like, okay. Yeah.
Good
that
is
was
good.
Just
Yeah.
like this. You
I'm in
paint
shock.
a picture.
I'm shocked.
Right? You paint a picture. You, as the person that painted that picture, is always going to see a flaw in that picture later on after it's painted.
Me?
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty easygoing.
Because,
kidding.
yeah, I did a very good job. It's perfect. Oh, wait. I shouldn't have, brushed a little stroke right there.
Right.
I should
Yeah.
have taken that stroke out.
Well, that's like when we listen to these podcasts back and we go,
Yeah.
Mike was a little close to the face. Shouldn't have said that word. That was a bad word.
Right.
That's going to embarrass some
See,
people.
I just try to move forward. That's what God calls us to do. Move
Move
forward.
forward.
Don't
Yeah.
live with these regrets.
Yeah.
Well, so-
You know, learn from them.
So this
God
is-
created you with knowledge to learn. A brain. Go for it.
Yeah. And we're being creative with our mouths and our minds on this podcast.
I'm just. I don't even know.
Jake, I really
don't
want you to
even
speak.
know where to
I
start.
want to hear you say something.
Do you?
I do. From the creativity.
I do not. I do not
God-given
get that impression.
creativity.
All right, hold on. All right. So here's the simplicity of the simplicity of the Bible.
He's like,
I like it. I like it. That's
All right, go ahead.
the simplicity of the Bible is that we are made in His image, and because of that fruit in the garden, society descended into darkness.
Yes.
That's fair to say. Yeah.
yeah.
So by the time you get to Methuselah and you get 1,000, 1,500 years down, things are in bad shape. That's the descent into darkness, and that's where society goes apart from God. But then when you get Jesus in the mix, that coming to Christ moment it doesn't undo, but it's like the fruit in the garden where you partake of the salvation that Christ gives you, and it opens your eyes to the possibilities of what you can do when you draw close to God. And the sanctification, the theological word that we use, sanctification, this conforming to the image of Christ, as Colossians says, we're putting off the old man and putting on the new man, which is being transformed in knowledge to the image of God.
Right.
We're on the road back that was already marred.
Right, we're going back.
And the closer you get to God in that situation, the more my belief, and this is what I share with people who are Christians, who are trying to overcome things and move forward in their life, is that the closer you get to God, the clearer your purpose, that's the clearest you can possibly be. I told one guy, I've said it 1,000 times. They go, I don't know what I should do with my life. I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what I should be doing. I go, look, what do you want to do when you're the closest to God you can get? Whatever that is, do that.
Right.
Draw near to him and he'll draw near to you.
Yep. And your purpose will be made clear because you'll see it in the light that God has intended you. He'll have that. He has that garden for people.
Yeah.
You know, he has that purpose for it's metalworking, or it's preaching the gospel, or it's serving your community, or it's just being a good entrepreneur and providing jobs, or it's whatever it is. It's a clearer purpose when you come to Christ and he opens your eyes and you're filled with the Spirit and you're going, I see things more clearly now than I could have ever seen things when I was in darkness.
Absolutely.
Right.
And yeah, and you're going to reflect. You're going to reflect everything he's doing in your life. You're just going to reflect. You're going to outpour it. Absolutely. His image is going to be seen. People are going to look at you and go, that guy's a Christian.
Yeah.
Either I want to talk to him or I want to get away from him.
Well, hopefully. I mean, you know, we go through times. Some people are not going to look. They might say, they might look at you and go, there's something different. You know, if you're walking close to the Lord, you got kind of, in and out of seasons.
People notice, though. When you're walking, people notice.
Well, you know,
whether you think you notice or not, people notice.
The main difference, you guys know the difference. There's two words for son in the New Testament.
S-U-N, S-O-N.
Oh yeah, right. One for the one in the sky, and one for both like sibling. Like, so there's one which is Technon is he's your kid. He's always going to be your kid. There's nothing you can do to change the fact that he's blood.
And that's Technon?
That's Technon.
Like Chevron with Technon?
Yeah, right. Like Chevron with Technon. That means he's your kid and his bowels are all cleaned. There's no back up, nothing.
Perfect.
Right?
Yes.
It's all cleaned out and he gets great mileage, is what we're saying.
Amazing. Okay.
Then there's the word huios. Huios is a word that says, that basically reflects, he's my son, and you can tell he's my son based on the way he acts.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Or so you look at somebody and you go, is he your son? Like, yeah, you couldn't tell? No. Well, we've been estranged for a number of years. The difference being that when your kid reflects who you are, it's because they're spending time with you.
Right.
They pick up your mannerisms. They pick up the way you talk. They pick up your likes and your dislikes and all those things, and you go, "Oh yeah, man, you're Josh's son for sure."
Well, even as a Christian means what? Christ-like.
Christ-like.
Yeah, because we're Christ-like.
Or follower of Christ. What's Christian mean?
Christ, isn't it?
It's a little
I'm
Christ.
a Christian.
Little
I don't even
Christ.
know what
You're
it
a
means.
little Christ.
It means little Christ.
Oh,
Yeah.
little Christ.
Yeah.
Oh, like
Yeah.
the rapper, Lil.
Lil Christ.
Lil.
Not little.
No, it's
No,
Lil.
Lil.
It's Lil C.
Yo.
Lil C coming to you live.
Here we go.
Lowercase C.
Here we go. No, I'm not gonna do nothing.
Man, I was getting ready for it.
I don't know why
I
they
was
have-
about to start dancing.
I don't know why they have to always do that.
Well, because they're thinking. It gives you time to think. It's more like like different cultures. You know, white people are like and maybe
It's
Right.
a sound
in another
to take
culture
a
they
place
might go
of a beat.
Okay.
Rappers go
To get you into the rhythm.
Yes.
Well, that sounds good too, but probably not.
Jared, you're not a rapper, bro.
Here's a little man that's littler than
only
the bigger
thing
man.
you can rap is a burrito.
That's right.
Ooh.
And I've listened to rap, so I understand the culture completely.
Okay, now go ahead.
I got it.
Right.
You got
and,
nothing?
I don't know where we're going.
and
I
think
don't know
about
where
that
we're going.
Well-
with rap. Okay, we're talking about this rap culture real briefly. But if that's what you follow, if that's what you do, then that's the image. That's the image you're portraying, and then the image you're making for yourself. Because say you're like, I don't want anything to do. Whatever God, right, that you decide to follow, or whatever you're so passionate about instead of God, that's the image you're going to conform to and,
Yeah, and that's
reflect.
why with all the idols and stuff like that, cannot hear, see, or speak. It's like you are if like in the Old Testament, when people were worshiping these idols, God, the Lord basically said, you are like your idol that cannot see, speak, or hear. And so you reflect who your God is.
Yeah.
And when you're a believer, you're going to reflect Christ, just like a mirror, or just like how the moon reflects the sun.
Yeah.
You're going to show some sort of characteristic of the very character of God.
Do you know what the Hebrew word for idol is?
I forget what it is.
You can say it in English. Do you know it in English?
Idol?
Yeah. No, it's image.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Image, yes.
Right.
Image.
Yeah,
Whoa.
it is an
God,
image, yeah.
God made us in his image, and he said, don't go worshiping any images that have been created.
Right, exactly.
Like this image-bearing thing goes one way, me to you, and then you reflect it back to me in worship.
Absolutely. So now, can you think of any reason why we wouldn't want to be conformed to God's image? Why wouldn't someone want
Not
to be
me.
conformed to...
Well, look, I think...
Should we talk BC or
No, right now. Like, anybody that's thinking, oh, why would I want to be conformed to God's image so I can go, like, sing Kumbaya?
No, that's
Okay.
that's
Sit by the
that's
like,
easy.
what-
That's good. Well,
Yeah.
because I've ran the image of the life without Christ, and it did nothing for me. And so wanting to live a life in abundance, why would I want to go back? I mean, there's no reason to go back when there is so much blessing.
Okay, so look at me. So say I'm making $200,000 a year. I feel like I have enough money. I don't need God. I have a nice house, nice wife, beautiful kids. Why would I want to be, go to God's image? Why would I want to be? What's the draw to me that I feel like?
Well, it's almost easier to answer, why people wouldn't.
Okay.
And
I guess that's why they wouldn't. They feel like they...
Well, they don't know who we are.
Okay.
Like look at media as a whole. All right, and when you think about Christians in the media, or you think about the media talking about Christians, what do you think about?
Bigot.
Homophobic.
Right.
Hater.
They hate gay people.
Loser.
They hate science.
Make fun of people in wheelchairs.
They make fun of people, which everybody does to atheists, dude. You make fun of people in wheelchairs too, so don't be spitting. I'm talking like somebody like I know, like I'm hip. Don't be spitting. I'm 46. I'm just like, don't be spitting. I ain't no hitting.
No.
See, this is a lot of rap
This is
happening.
a lot of rap happening. But look, if you look in the media and their perception of Christianity, if they don't know Christians, they're looking at their perception of Christianity as seen through the media. They think we
on
hate
TV shows
They think
and
we hate everybody,
child
and we think the
molester,
earth
rapist.
they think the earth is flat, and we hate science, and and a whole litany of other things. And I think part of this podcast is to say, look, man, we're idiots like you.
Well, or
You know what I
we're-
mean? Like
yeah.
we have this belief, but we're just normal people.
Right. What's the
Whatever normal
difference?
means.
What's the difference?
Whatever normal means,
I'm
right?
my normal.
We are the only difference. We know that in the end, we're better off.
Is it
Right?
Is it weird?
We're not
that-
better then, but we're better off.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're better off. But what do we have that's better? Which is
A relationship with Jesus Christ, the
we have-
Creator.
We have a relationship with the Creator of the universe.
We've got a Holy Spirit living in us, a helper.
Our eyes are open. We
don't feel empty anymore. We don't have that empty drive
Yeah.
that is never
Well,
satisfied.
but look, all right. Well, I'll play that out. Let me be the
The rich,
leprechaun.
the rich man.
no.
with
Let
the
me be that
particle
guy. Hey, I don't
the rich
feel
guy with the big house and
sure. Hey,
a lot of money.
I don't feel empty inside.
Okay. Yeah, you do.
No, I don't.
So then what's your, like, what are you doing? What are you working for? What are you working towards? What's your goal?
I don't need to work towards anything.
Oh, okay.
I have a big house. I got a Lambo in the garage. 6. I was being modest, and then I got a nice boat.
A wife.
Sorry, yacht. Again, modesty.
Yeah.
I got a wife
See,
who loves me.
but now
got-
you just made up a character. I know that when I wasn't a
made up a-
Christian.
So did you.
Yeah, I know. But listen, I know that when I wasn't a Christian, that there was, once I came to the realization that there was Jesus and I kind of looked into my life, I realized I am empty. Yeah, maybe at the time I didn't realize I was empty.
Yeah.
But once it came to me that like, oh, there's a choice, there's a God, you know, da da da. Then I realized, whoa, I am empty. But I didn't,
Yeah.
you know, so there has to be.
But there's plenty of people who don't believe in Jesus who are happy.
Right, but I think that they're probably kind of just, because when I can have a heart-to-heart with somebody and tell them, for instance, talking to this guy, and he's telling me, he's sleeping with all these different girls, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, in high school, I did that, and it came to a point where I was just doing it to do it, and I really wasn't happy or satisfied. And I got to a place where it was kind of empty, but I was just doing it because that's what I did. And he got real for a second. He goes, "Yeah, I feel like that sometimes."
Sure.
But he still, continues in it. So I know because God draws us all, and the choice is out there for everyone, that at some point, everybody has to have felt that and either said, "Nope, I don't care," and then God said, "Whatever, I'll give you over to your own desire," or they're in it right now. And they're just doing it because that's what they've always done.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, look, I think there's a lot of people who live contrary lives than we do, who are happy, who are content, and if you ask them, they are fulfilled.
I'm going to say that they're liars. I bet you.
Well, you could say that they're liars, but they believe.
No, I just did.
The one thing that if it had to be a gain loss, like, okay, this is why you would want to come to Christ. I think for me, you can't explain it. I don't think you can explain to anybody. The gospel's open to everybody. We shouldn't wait until somebody's on their deathbed or wait until they're at the rock bottom to share the gospel. Everybody should. If you got a rich guy with yachts and hookers and all that, and just tons of blow, and you're just going, "Hey man, I know it seems like you got everything. Let me share the gospel with you." If he comes to Christ and his eyes are open and the Spirit inhabits his body, that's the feeling you can't articulate to people who are fulfilled.
Right.
You go, "Hey, there's a next level to your existence that includes being one with God."
Right. Well, and I think you talk to people, okay? You talk to people that aren't Christian, okay? And you ask them, are they scared? Scared to go to sleep at night? Are they scared to sleep? Do they have trouble sleeping? A lot of them, absolutely, yes, they do, because they live with that fear that they're not going to wake up, that they're going to die. Which, when I became a Christian, that fear, I have no fear of sleeping or going to bed at night. And you'd be,
Me neither. I like
or
sleeping.
dying. But you talk to people that don't know Jesus, and most of the time, people aren't asking that question about, hey, do you fear death? Are you afraid to go to sleep at night? And you'd be so surprised if people were real with you, how many are. There's a lot.
No, yeah, I agree totally with that. I mean, thinking about the guy with the rich stuff, I mean, it's kind of hard to like think of a scenario and then try to think as that type of person. But what if you ask that person also, so you have all this stuff, but what if you lose it all? What's going to happen if you lose it all? You have everything now, but what's going to happen if all of a sudden it's just gone?
We know
you
it.
lose it all.
We know because of what happened when the stock market crashed back in, was it the 40s?
Yeah, 30s.
30s?
Now,
people committed suicide.
Now, the difference is someone with Jesus probably wouldn't, right? Because they have.
They would say, oh, you know what? God's going to help me
Yes.
through this. I have a helper.
Exactly, and that's how probably you could talk to someone just like that.
Well, and that's the best book into that is that, right? Their identity is wrapped up in their possessions,
Yeah.
in their role, in their lifestyle, in whatever else they hold to be some sacred cow,
Right.
that they don't want to do without. That's what it is. Is that their identity is wrapped up in something artificial, not in the original power that created the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, when you find your identity as being somebody created in the image of God,
Mm-hmm.
endowed with his creativity, with his wisdom, and with his knowledge, that's an identity that people don't get.
Right. But I know because God put it in us that everybody at one point has to say, man, I'm empty, but I'm going to keep pursuing this, and maybe push it off. There is a time, because God tells us there is that emptiness, there is that thirst, there is that, that we're all going to experience, and God uses that to draw us to Him, but some of us just won't care because we'll like the money, we'll like whatever it is that we're drawn to apart from God.
They like their dark.
We're drawn to it.
We like our darkness instead.
Right, we like our darkness instead. We like, hey, I totally know that this is against God, but I don't care.
Well, and you get
It's easier to hide in darkness.
Yeah.
It's very easy to hide in darkness. And if you're going to be portraying some sort of idolic image, then you're going to want to hide in darkness. If that image is money, if that image is, all that other stuff that we were talking about, riches, possessions and all these other things, then, with all that, then you're going to want to hide what you really have, which is emptiness inside that darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's not indigenous to people in the world, by the way.
Right.
There's plenty of people in the church right now professing to be image bearers of Christ.
And still hiding in that darkness.
Who are hiding in the darkness.
Yeah.
People only come, it's the 1 John 1 chapter that talks about, the depths of the relationships that we have in fellowship.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Where the depths of that relationship and fellowship comes from being completely open and in the light. Walk in the light as He Himself is in the light. And the problem is people don't walk in that light, because in the light reveals. The light shines. And people are only going to get as close to the light as they're comfortable revealing about themselves. So that's why you go to churches all over America today, and they're going, "Hey, how you doing, brother?" "Oh, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good."
Are they really doing good?
Are they really doing good? They don't know, because this is as far as they're willing to come into your light, and this is as much as they're willing to show of themselves.
Well, I'll tell you what, after doing a study on the word good, if the garden was good, then they're definitely not doing good.
They're definitely not doing good. They're definitely not doing, and that's the thing is that there's a lot of talk even in atheist circles that are, it's in, when you talk about relationships and being open and honest and authentic and real and raw. And that's the look. I mean, you get people in the church specifically that if they felt like they could come to church, hang out with other guys and just dish.
Right.
Here's everything that I've been carrying on my back all freaking week long, and I can't carry it any further. If they thought they could just throw it all out there without being judged or kicked out of the church, that would be...
Absolutely, and that's the big deal where what I've seen, being in the church is, when someone comes in and starts talking about their day and their week and go, "Oh, I went and did this, and then I went and saw Deadpool, and then everybody goes, "Oh, you watched Deadpool?" That you just lost immediate judgment. You just lost all your ministry with that person,
right?
And then that person isn't going to share with you. All of a sudden, it's a game changer.
I know what else I need to hide from you.
Right.
Right. You don't approve of Deadpool, therefore I can't tell you I've seen movies. Next time you ask me if I've seen any good movies, I'm going to say nope.
Yeah. And then it goes even okay, you want to go camping. Oh, I'm not going to invite anybody because this person goes and they like to drink a beer. Whoa, so this guy drinks a beer. We're not going to. So now we just separate with our judgments. We just separate ourselves even further and further and further.
Further and further, and those are the challenges that we have now. And then in doing so, we hinder good people from embracing the full image-bearing possibilities that are in front of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I was going to allude to, is that legalism can block or even scare people away to the point of not being able to be real with somebody with somebody else. It's almost like if there's just a complete block. Like, we all know that legalism blocks.
Right. You quench the spirit, right?
Yeah, you could quench the spirit, and if somebody has something hard on their shoulders that they want to get off their back, and you're being legalistic, and they know you're legalistic because of the conversation you had with somebody else, they're going to get scared away. They're either going to get lost somewhere in a different church, and then that same thing happens there, and then you just lost that person.
Yeah. If I can't tell you that I went to an Iron Maiden concert and enjoyed myself,
Right.
because I'm afraid that you're going to judge me for that, I can't tell you anything.
Yeah.
Because that's about as tame as it gets.
Yeah. I mean,
I mean, maybe not as tame as it gets. It's Iron Maiden.
Absolutely.
I mean,
But it's
I
not
go
like they're
watch-
devil worshippers. Or
I go
anything,
watch, horror movies. I go
Yeah.
watch all kinds of, movies like war movies and stuff like
Right.
that. And if people are like, "Oh, you see that stuff?" It's like, come on.
Now I got to be careful. Like,
Yeah.
oh, hey, have you eaten at any
Yeah.
any good places lately? Oh my gosh, what happens if I tell them I had shrimp? Are they going to throw the Old Testament at me? I'm going to get a concussion. That's a big book. You know what I'm saying? It's
I went to a luau the other day and they had a full pig roasted.
yeah, they had a full pig. Or like, oh my gosh, do you know what the Old Testament says about eating pork? You're like, seriously?
Yeah.
This is what you're going to come at me with? This is, and that's the biggest hindrance. I think one of the biggest hindrances to people really embrace, like, if you could just come to your fellowship, whoever you're fellowshipping with, and just be like, look, man, I had a gambling problem for a long time, and I'm not going to lie, I spent the last week at Commerce mortgaging my house, and I'm in bad shape. If you can't do that,
Yeah.
Well, everybody immediately gets worried. Oh, he's going to ask me for money.
well,
I'm not going to give him any.
Well, even then, what is a
You're
church for?
you're not far off.
Right.
You're not far off.
Yeah,
They're like,
exactly.
oh, he's going to ask for money. He's going to ask for help. Everybody hide their wallets. And then they go, oh, really? Wow. So
You
you're a
should-
gambler?
Right.
Like, that's what you got
That's
out of
the
that,
first-
man?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to tell you guys, I've been on the other side of that where I've been legalistic and where I've been judgmental. And God totally opened my eyes to it. He showed, like, I've learned, I've been a Christian for like 17, 18 years, and I've gone through different stages. And so you can fall into it, and God will definitely pull you out of it.
Yeah.
But
Well,
we can't be judged.
I think there's a point in time, like you said, it's maturity level.
It's maturity. It's God. It's your growth. In the
Because
Lord.
when I first became a believer, I was telling everybody, you're going to go to hell. You need Jesus. That's fire, of a brand new believer. But then the maturity came, and it's like, oh, that's how you scare people away. And then, but there's also sometimes where not too much of legalism, but you still have to be strict upon standards.
Yeah, you have to have, if you're bearing the image, then you bear the image according to God's standards.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Like, and if Jesus says that his yoke is easy and his burden is light, well, then his yoke is easy and his burden is light.
But there's still a burden.
But there's still a burden.
Yeah.
But he's just helping you carry it because
Yeah.
you're
Amen.
yoked. You're yoked to him, right?
Amen.
Amen.
And it's just like but when people start weighing on more stuff, oh,
Right.
that yoke looks too easy.
Yeah, let's add some burden.
Let's add some burden.
Some
Oh gosh.
judgment.
Oh you smoked a cigar. Oh, you're a cigar smoker. Oh,
Don't you know your body's a temple?
don't you know
little
your
jerk?
body's a temple? I had a dude.
You fool.
I had a guy. Who was it? It was a chaplain. I had a chaplain years ago who said, if you smoke, it's like you're burning a false offering in your temple. And I looked at him like, are you reading the same book?
I'm like, my temple just farted. What's up with that?
Well, but like pastors do it all the time when they
I'm talking
when
about
they
farting still.
Well, no, when they fart, yeah, when they fart on the pulpit, it's just gross. Good thing the mic's up here, son, right? But they do it all the time when they conflate life things with sin. Like when I lived in the world, I smoked and I drank beer and I cussed. You're like, okay, 3 things that aren't sins, really. I mean, okay, let's maybe cussing, depending on your cuss words, right? I mean,
How you're using them.
how
right?
you're using them, right? I mean, we'll have a whole episode about language soon, I'm sure. But let's take 2 of them, smoking and having a beer. You're like, okay. So now everybody in the church is thinking, okay, so
now smoking is a sin.
now smoking is a sin and drinking is a sin. Okay, check. And then you come to church the next week and he's got a whole list of other things that aren't listed in this book as being sins.
Right.
Next thing you know, you got everything in the book and then everything he's telling you, and then everybody in the church is looking at you funny when you drive off with a Marlboro in your hand.
Right. And a beer.
And a beer. Well, it's so bad that there's been phases in my Christianity where I've been in churches where it's so bad that I felt like anxious or weird for having an O'Doul's at a Red Robin.
That is weird.
You know what I mean? Because everybody says, "Oh, well, you got to stay away from anything that might look like evil." You're like, okay, let's say it was a real beer,
Okay, it was a real one.
3% alcohol.
Not even that.
I mean, I'm 200 pounds, man. 3% alcohol ain't gonna do much.
It's like 0.03 or
It's-
something like
or
that.
is it point? No, it's
Yes.
3. It's like point. It's 3.3.
No.
And
like
no
a-
duels? No.
No, not no duels.
Oh.
No. I'm like a regular beer,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
unless it's an IPA. Then it's like 8%.
And
or
you know,
something,
when
but
we
that's-
become like that, because our kids are our image, we make them even worse. Because then they think, oh, I went to so and so's house and their dad drank a beer, and they grow up thinking it's the worst thing that you can do, and you know, and it's like, whoa, I know every time we went to church and you went to Sunday school, we talked about how drinking a beer was like the worst crime in the world, but actually, it's drunkenness that's a sin, not drinking a beer
Yeah.
or a glass of wine.
And that's
or-
what I mean by the
Smoking a
maturity.
cigarette.
That's what I mean by the maturity level. Do I care if anybody drinks? No. I really don't.
Right.
If someone's drinking in front of me, I don't care. But for me, I know that I have the liberty to drink, right?
Sure.
I really do. But I also have the liberty, knowing that I have the liberty to drink, but not to drink.
Sure.
Right,
And
you have the
that's-
freedom to do
And
it as much.
I have the
towards
freedom to do it, but I also
As
have the
much.
freedom to say
as
no.
abundantly.
But as abundantly, but you know, only because like I know me, you know, I don't just my one beer is a 40 ounce.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
How
right,
many
right.
beers did you have? One. All right. Okay. Yeah, 140. Right.
Sure.
So, or you know, how much wine did you drink? One bottle. Like, come
Sure.
on. So
You got to know
I know
yourself.
who I am. Like I
Right.
know who I am. I know how much I can take, and I know my limits. But
yeah.
I also have that freedom to not do it, and that's a maturity level. Do I
Sure.
care if somebody else drinks in front of me? No, I don't care, and I will say don't drink so much, or I won't try to judge someone who's drinking right in front of me when I'm trying to share the gospel with them or something.
Right.
You know, if that's the place where they want to meet, like at a Red Robin, like you said, or like, hey, I'm gonna have a beer. Do you mind? I'm like, no, but you know, do you mind hearing what I have to say?
I'll meet you at a bar and talk. I'll talk to you about Jesus at a bar. I don't care.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll sit
I
in a
don't
bar.
care either. Like, I mean, come on, like. That's that burden.
Yeah.
You don't want to say, "Oh no, please don't drink down in front of me." I want to talk to you when you have a straight mind.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I want to
Like-
talk to you with this judgmental look on my face for about 45 minutes.
That's what they, and then their image of the image of God is completely distorted
Yeah, the
because
same
we
thing,
had to be
like
judgmental.
with Moses striking the rock.
Yeah.
Right,
That was a
wrong.
misrepresentation of God.
Yeah, right. Because he
And
hit
that
it twice. He was
they-
like,
yeah,
I didn't
he
tell you
hit
to
it twice. He didn't even have to hit it once. After he said, just speak to the rock and it'll be given to you.
Right.
And then he, fool gets mad because these people are yelling at him. And then all of a sudden he starts smiting the rock, hit it twice. And then, what happened? The rock split and, water everywhere.
Right.
They got more water than they could expect. But that misrepresentation of the image of God, because Moses was supposed to be that image of God. God
The
to man,
representation.
the representation of God
biggest-
to man and man to
The
God.
biggest
Right.
the biggest representation. Say it for me, Jake, please. The biggest rep
A representation.
of God
How
is
much
love.
rep you got? Yes.
Is love. If you can't do anything, say anything in love, you shouldn't be saying it. A lot of Christians think, oh, I've read the Bible, I pray. Basically, anything I say or do is totally from the Lord. Whoa. If it's not in love, you're a symbol making noise, you're annoying.
If you come out of reading the Bible and you're a complete D-bag,
Oh, dude.
it had absolutely no impact on your life. Love. It's right. That's the point. Love.
Yeah, love.
It's like you want to be an image bearer of God. It's love.
Absolutely.
Primary,
Amen.
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember I saw there's a missionary talking at a Calvary Chapel school once. Shout out to Calvary Chapel.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop whoop. And I remember the guy and his wife are up on there, and they're there telling, hey, this is what we're doing in Germany. We're having we're seeing souls saved, and people are coming, and their eyes are being opened. It's great, and it's a celebration. Da, 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 da. And German's a big drinking community. I don't know if you guys know anything about Germany, but they like their beer,
I've never been there.
right? They like
Oktoberfest.
well, they-
Heineken.
It's coming up.
yeah, they like their beer, right? And so somebody had asked him in the crowd. He was like, if they ask you to have a beer with them, are you going to have a beer with them? Like, that's the question you're asking? Why are you asking that? And then you could see in his face he wasn't ready for it. So he's I was like, just say yes.
Yes. You
Yes.
threw your hand up. Yes.
Yes. Just say yes. And you're going to say, look, assume you're not an alcoholic. Assume you don't have a problem with a substance, right? And a beer is fine. You're going to go to somebody's culture. This is my view. It does not necessarily reflect the view of GOAD. Personally, this is my disclaimer. That's my disclaimer. You're going to go to a culture that's culture is, hey, let's have a drink. Right?
Right.
A beer. Let's have a beer. You don't win an audience with me unless you have a beer with me.
Well, think of it. If you go to like a third or, a jungle,
Yeah.
and you find a tribe that nobody has ever even found before.
And
Yeah.
they have a
And
six-pack
then one
of
of their
Bud.
delicacies is some form of fermented.
yeah.
You know,
Wow.
and then you go to the chief. You want to develop a relationship with the chief, and he hands you this fermented drink.
That
Yeah,
scenario
I
is the
think-
worst. That's the
What
worst.
happens?
That's the worst scenario for me because in my mind I'm hoping it's a hallucinogenic. And
Yeah.
I'm
Dude,
just like,
I was about to
yes.
say, what if it's peyote?
Yeah, I think
yes,
I think
please,
there's because at the same time they know you're not from there, and they're gonna be kind of
But they don't
understanding
trust
if you're
you.
like, I don't know if I trust
But
myself.
let's just say it was a trust issue.
You know what, I
Let's
went-
just say if you drink this, you're going to become one with me as I'm going to become one with you. What if you sat with Jesus and said, "Here's my bread, and here's my blood."
You want an audience
Well,
with me?
I guess
Here's what it takes.
Yes.
you really got to know what you're drinking.
I
Dude,
barely.
if they're okay after they drink it, then fine. You know what
I
I
barely
mean?
need
Well,
to know
if
If
what
I'm going to trip out for a little while, then dude, you know what? As long as I get to share the gospel with them after a
Right.
couple of days that I recuperate.
You know,
Well, I don't know, man.
I guess there's two sides to that. I guess there's the doing it and the not doing it. I went to a house once, and these people were drinking, and they're saying, "Hey," they said, "Here, drink this, and we'll give you more work." And I said at the time I wasn't drinking at all, and I was like, "No, sorry, I can't, I don't." And this is why, and I was able to share the gospel with them.
Yeah.
And I mean, it turned out they respected my decision, and they respected everything I
Did
said.
they give you more work?
And they did give me more work. So
What a dumb.
you know,
that's a dumb
so
thing.
there's two sides with that, because there's the part where who knows what's happening, the enemy trying to deceive you, and
Sure.
hey, if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
don't do this, you're not gonna have ministry. Maybe you shouldn't do it. Maybe you don't want the ministry.
I'm-
And then on the other
yeah.
hand, maybe at some time, like, it's hard for me drinking something I don't know what it is just to do it, but like a beer, I know what a beer is.
Well,
think I'm mostly
think
talking
of it.
like
That's a
cold.
different scenario, though. I'm
Right,
talking
that's
about
a different scenario.
a place where it's never been touched by any other man but
Right.
but that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I'd be a little scared to drink a hallucinogen from some tribe I've never been to before in the middle of the world. And what if their thing is, hey, we drink this stuff and then we the guys kiss.
Did you hear? Did you? Then you gotta kiss him, Jared. Only you would
Yeah,
think
you
of
can-
something like that.
Right.
But listen,
Well,
you remember that one missionary that was going to? Remember that? Not that long ago.
Like, this could get
You
really
think this is all the
weird.
guys start making out.
Not that long ago, there was a missionary that went to an island because he wanted to share the gospel with them. Did you hear about that?
They killed him, right?
And then right away they killed
Yeah,
him.
yeah, they killed
They
him.
speared him.
People aren't allowed on
And
that.
the Spear movie?
Look, hey, and to be fair to
Who
that,
knows what he did to them
to-
to make them mad?
No,
He came
It's
to the
not that.
island. He looked funny.
that particular island and those particular people had been abused by visitors for centuries.
Right. Yeah.
They have grown to kill people, anybody that steps foot on their island, and dude knew it, and he
did know
went
it, yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
So, bye.
I don't know if I consider that being a missionary.
No, I say if you went there with anything less than a flak jacket and a couple guns, you weren't going there to share the gospel.
Right.
Look, back up, fool. I got a message for you. You know what I'm saying? I'm popping off shots.
This is my boomstick.
This is my boomstick. I'm not going to let you just spear me because I got on your beach. All right? Chill. Like, that's a...
Well, see, sometimes you got to take a sword, just like Jesus said.
Look, man, there are some missionaries that need a little bit of hardcore schooling, man, because there's like the machine gun, the machine gun guy. I like him.
Oh, machine gun preacher.
Yeah, the machine gun. He's Sam Childers.
Yeah.
Shout out to Sam. Dude's a freaking rock star as far as I'm concerned.
Man.
You want to build an orphanage in Africa where everybody's trying to kidnap your kids and make them gorillas, and you're going to guard with an AK-47?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
He
Thank
did.
you.
He
Yeah.
did go a little crazy for a time.
Yes, he did. Of course, of course, because he's got kids to save.
But tell me this: if you go into a homeless community and you want to minister to them, and they say, "Hey, we all do this meth. Here's some meth."
No, I'd say no. That's
Right.
totally different,
No,
Jared.
well,
that's not a good scenario.
That's
How's
not a-
that different
that is
than a
not a good
hallucinogen
scenario.
from a tribe you don't know?
Because
Well, I know.
you got to go there and be like, hey, I have my own meth, and it's in this Bible. You want to hear it first?
and they're like, "Here, take this hallucinogen,"
Right.
which you don't know.
No, that's
and then you end up kissing
Jared,
10 guys.
Jared, that's totally different.
One is cultural.
That's completely different.
One is-
The homeless culture.
One's cultural, and the other one is just some
It's
smacked
because
out
you
fools that are
know-
smoked out to
because
the point
you-
where
because you
they're
know-
sleeping in bathtubs.
because
and-
you know the homeless community, right? You know the homeless community. You know what meth is.
Yes,
But you're going to a place you don't know nothing about, and you don't know what the drink is. So that's what I'm saying. I compare it to that because one, you don't know, but you're gonna try it. When you do know, and you know not to try it.
No, look. I
That's
think one's
different.
yeah, it's
Very
totally
different.
different. One's
That's
cultural,
completely different.
and I guess if I'm admitting it, which I will do so
It's a
readily.
homeless culture.
If I go to that jungle, if I go on that jungle cruise,
And what jungle is that?
whatever,
Okay.
whatever jungle cruise
We don't
that
know
is,
what it is.
if I go on that jungle cruise, and they say yes, come on in, we'll definitely talk with you, but first, I have to admit, having been a fan of the hallucinogenic, I would say yes. First we trip, then we talk.
Yeah.
First we trip, then we talk. Right.
And of course, it's not.
I
like
shall trip for
quick,
ministry.
It's not a quick decision that I would make. Okay.
Jake, it was quick.
Oh, I would make
He's
it fast.
I would
Decided,
literally-
predetermined.
I would literally go prayed up.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, yeah.
Of course.
Sure.
Right.
Of course.
absolutely. Right,
And
because
that's
once you
the
got
main
there,
thing.
the Holy Spirit would give you discernment. Like,
Yes,
Josh,
exactly.
take this crap. You're gonna have so much fun.
Well, you want to
Don't
and
do
it's,
it.
And it's not even fun. It would be a bridge.
Yeah, it's a bridge to the conversation. And you got to be prayed up before you start tripping, man. You want to have a good trip? You want to have the
Gosh.
best possible trip possible with strangers?
Oh, dude.
You got to be prayed up.
I've had a bad trip one time just watching TV, bro.
Yeah, it's not good.
It wasn't good. Just imagine with strangers in a remote area where
Where they're
you
holding
have
spears.
No idea. Their whole life is there, and
And
you
the
have
guys
no
are
idea
kissing.
where the hell you're at. I mean, come on.
I was
Death by Pomawamba.
You better be prayed up if you're gonna have
You-
a bad trip there, bro.
you
Like,
better.
come on.
I was laying with a girlfriend years when I was a teenager. I was laying on my bed with a girlfriend and at like 2:00 in the morning, and we were tripping, and we were just looking at, because when you're tripping, you just look at each other and you're like, man, wow, this is really weird, right? And then this commercial came on the TV and said, don't just bake, shake and bake.
Did you guys start shaking?
Oh, I looked right at the television, start cracking up hysterically. I was like, so I looked at her, I was like, don't just bake, let's shake and bake. Oh, that was awesome. Anyway, how do we get
You
there?
guys.
Image bearing.
Image
Image
bearing.
bearing. Yeah, I don't know that Jesus would do the hallucinogen. But
Well-
we'll see. We'll see. You guys let me know when you go there and come back.
Well, I don't know what Jesus would do, because I think naturally he sees more colars and more.
He's
things
already
than any
hallucinating. He's
normal-
walking on water.
He's I mean,
He's like, oh, you want me to take that, man?
well, he's got special insights that can only be
Yeah, dude, he read people's minds, bro.
Yeah. I'm just saying,
He saw what was in people's hearts.
I'm just saying, in the quest to bring more people over into the everybody's image bearing, but to bring more people over into the conscious image bearing on the journey of becoming
More like Jesus.
more like Christ, more like God, it's you're going to bridge that gap however you can bridge the gap. And within reason, people.
Right,
Don't
exactly.
email me going, hey, if somebody
Yeah.
asked you to be in a porn, would you be in it? No, I'm not going to be in a
Well,
porn.
if there's
Look, that's
ministry,
stupid.
if you can preach the gospel.
You got
I'm
Jared.
just kidding. I'm not.
Jared's
I'm
in.
not. I actually got
So I
asked
guess
to
we
be
know
in
where
one
we all-
once.
we all-
I got asked and I turned it down, so
Good job, Jared.
I knew there was no ministry for me there.
All right. Woo.
Okay, so image bearers. Jared,
Image bearers. What's the question?
what's your final thoughts about it?
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
come
The blessing of bearing the image of God, being created in his image, is just, again, that growth, that love, that artistic ability, knowing that everything that you do, everything that you desire and all your abilities that's good, come from the Lord. And he wants to grow that and expand it and use it beyond what you can think or imagine. And so just knowing, like, the closer you get to God, the closer you get into his image, and knowing what he has for you and just what he wants you to walk in, and at the same time he's going to use you to further his kingdom, to bring people to know him and to become in a relationship with him. You know, if you don't know it, it's hard to understand. It doesn't make sense. But I'm telling you, you get past any fear, any emptiness, any anxiety, any sin, anything you can't kick, any sin, anything that's destroying your life. It's just victory. Everything in Christ is victorious, and so the image of God, being able to do his work and fulfill that ministry, I can't even describe it because there's so much to it, but it's a blessing. That's all I can say.
Amen.
Yeah. Operating at maximum potential with ultimate clarity.
Boom.
That's
Bearing the image of God, you are who you worship, and I choose that to be the God of the Bible.
awesome.
And you are what you eat, and you're a hallucinogen.
He can't talk. All right, boys, we're good?
I'm
Eh?
good, bro.
All right, everybody, ciao.
Later. Doop, doop, doop.